Let's talk Ipswich next on the Monday Night Club. Back-to-back promotions to return to the top flight. They're just the fifth team in the Premier League era to do that. So Watford did it in 99, Manchester City in 2000, Norwich in 2011 and Southampton in 2012. There's a great article by Brenna Woolley, who is BBC Radio Suffolk's Ipswich commentator and has been for 21 seasons. And this is from their article. Once upon a time in a commentary, I described Ipswich as Britain's most miserable football club, which I stand by to this day. There was no attractive football, no success on the pitch, no academy graduates coming through. Supporters didn't like manager X, manager Y or manager Z, and they complained about everything from the music at Portman Road to the price of tickets and the away shirts. They did not like anything. But under Kieran McKenna, the sun has come out from behind a big, dark cloud, which is lovely, isn't it, Chris? I know you're delighted for them.
No, do you know, I am. I think it's a great story. I know the Norwich-Ipswich rivalry, but total respect for the job that Kieran McKenna's done. And do you know what? When they came up from League One, they didn't go mad in the transfer market. What makes it really impressive, if you look at the sort of mainstays of the team this season and the real performers, Leif Davis, Morsey, Chaplin, they were the big players at League One level. That's incredible because the Championship is such a tough league for them to do this, and that's it's a testament to the manager and a top class coach by all accounts, and he has to take a great deal of the credit. But so do the players for making that step, having the confidence and belief that they could push. And they've had tricky spells this season, but shown great resilience in coming back and thoroughly deserve their promotion. It's great for East Anglia, Mark.
His record is 131 matches, 76 wins, 35 draws and 20 losses. He was appointed when they were 12th in League One at Andros. And since he took charge of his first game, no club in the top four tiers of English football have won more points, and only Manchester City have scored more than their 222 goals.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I played with Kieran when he was in the youth team, and he was very unfortunate with injuries and had to retire at an early age, maybe 23, 24. But the Spurs were good with him. They got him straight into the coaching. They got him straight through the system, doing his coaching badges. And it became pretty clear pretty quickly that he was a very, very good coach. He was grounded well. He learnt off the John McDermott, Alex Inglethorpe, who were in charge at the time. Got his big move to United in the youth team, and then one of the best managers of our generation, Jose Mourinho, promoted him from the under-18s at United to work with the first team. So this is a manager who seems like he's had the right people around him all the time, and he was brave to step out of that United bubble and go by himself in League One, and now he's reaping the rewards, and I'm so happy for him.
Final whistle has gone in the League Two playoff semi-final first leg. Tom Gale.
Crewe 0, Doncaster 2, Mark. A comfortable day out in the sun for the visitors. Molyneux and Biggins with goals in either half as they remain unbeaten since early March and now an 11th victory in their last 12 games. Contrast that with one win in 10 for Crewe, and from the evidence of tonight and the last 2 months, you wouldn't give them much hope for Friday's reverse fixture. Full time, Crewe 0, Doncaster 2.
Let's bring in the last man to take Ipswich into the top flight. Former Ipswich boss George Burley joins us on the Monday Night Club. Evening, George. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Lovely to
big smiles on my face.
Yeah, so I could see that in the crowd on Saturday as well. Do you think when a club the size of Ipswich was in League One, with the history that they had or have had, that for some managers and coaches it had been a burden being Ipswich manager?
I don't think so. Say the history. Yeah, we've had great history with Alf Ramsey, Bobby Robson, and I managed to get them into the Premiership. But with any club, you've got to gain the right to get promoted. You've got to gain the right to be top. Ipswich is not a big place. You haven't got a big surrounding area to it. But at the end of the day, you've got to judge the manager and the results. And you've just said, His results have been absolutely fantastic. He took over a club who were in the first division, but we had a good squad. We had a really good squad. Paul Cook brought about 5 or 6 new players into the club with the new ownership. The Americans had taken over. And then, Kieran brought them all together. On the training field, he's second to none. He's brought players through. As we said previously, they were first division players, for a few years, brought these players together and made them top championship players, And his record in the last 2 seasons, phenomenal. This season, we only lost 6 games. Unfortunately, one was against Norwich, so there you go. But we'll forget about that one. But unbelievable what he's done. And he's brought players in and loan who have actually kept the season going, because he brought Hurst in from Leicester the year before. Then he brought Moore in this season, and we've had Hutchison in loan as well, who have been fantastic, and that's made a big difference.
With your coach's head on, when you watch the football that they play, what about McKenna's setup impresses you the most?
Well, Kieran's got his ideas how he wants to play the game. So he gets his structure, he works with players. First of all, I believe that Ipswich has always been renowned for passing the ball. I was brought up passing the ball under Sir Bobby. And that's what you can see, good passing with movement, and they've got that confidence to do it. Football's changed in the last few years. We all start, the teams start from the goalkeeper now. Yeah. And sometimes you think, whoa, that's a bit dodgy. That's going to be difficult. But Kieran's believed in it, worked with it, worked hard, brought the best out of players, given them confidence. He's a type of lad, he doesn't get too overawed in the dugout. He doesn't go shouting and bawling, but the players believe in him because he doesn't panic, and he'll keep believing and working with the players to make them better. And you can see with the spirit in the camp, it's been fantastic. I mean, Portman Road on Saturday was absolutely rocking, and I feel that they deserved it. They were the only team that could compete with the 3 teams that came down in the championship. Because the teams that come down from the Premiership now have a great advantage. But Ipswich competed and came second. It was unbelievable.
George, I remember speaking to someone connected with Ipswich after Kieran McKenna's first 6 months at the club, and they were a bit worried that the way Kieran McKenna wanted to play wouldn't suit League One and it wouldn't work at a lower level. Did he have to change his philosophy at all, or did he just kind of push through it and say, no, this is the way I'm playing, this is the way we're going to play moving forward, win, lose or draw?
I don't know where this comes. We can't play at League One. Come on, you have a belief the way you're playing. I had a belief the way I was brought up. Kieran was brought up the same manner. Why not play wherever? You've got players, you've got to try and bring the best out of them. Go and play football. It's not complicated. You've got to pass the ball, score goals and win games. But doing it all together is not easy. And I don't believe you can't play football in a certain division than you can do in another division. It will tell that Kieran's going to go into the Premiership now, not knowing what's going to happen. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? But I can assure you, he will play to his beliefs to win matches. So if you've got the confidence and you have the belief and the squad behind you, who knows what happens? I managed to finish 5th and the team would get promoted. So go on, Kieran. I still believe that Kieran has got the ability to do very well in the Premiership.
George, do you feel the same is true of the players? Do you think the fact that they've made the leap from League One to the Championship kind of indicates that they can make the same leap into the Premier League?
I think confidence is a big part. If you start the Premiership losing games heavily, losing a lot of games, it can be very, very difficult. So the start of the season is very important. If you start the season and you have a few good results against the big teams, your Man City, Liverpool, Man United, whatever, that can build on your confidence. So I think the start of the season is going to be very important for them.
When
George, sorry,
go on,
sorry,
Chris.
Mark,
No, go on.
Can I ask, a lot of talk about the relatively new owners in at Ipswich. This is going to be a huge summer. Do you sense, I mean, just off the back of Rory's question, really, do you sense there's going to be a big change in the playing personnel? For example, we've seen Nottingham Forest chuck, millions, change the whole squad, but that surely can't be the way at Ipswich.
I don't sense it. Definitely not. Kieran, has beliefs, and he knows he's got a very good squad. And of course, it's going to be tough. The Premiership's get more and more difficult over the years. The big boys will get bigger, better squads. But I don't think there'll be too many changes. I know that he's saying he wants to keep his loan players. Whether he'll be able to do that, Hutchison and Moore, so he knows it's very difficult to buy top class players. Yeah. I was fortunate at times where I was able to bring young players through. And that is getting more and more difficult, which is worrying, really, for English football. But if you can bring one or two youngsters through and get some good players on loan, who knows? But I don't feel there's going to be too many changes.
George, thank you very much for coming on this evening. Really appreciate it. George Burley with us on the Monday Night Club. Enjoy your summer. I mean, that you will know, Andros, from your experiences, that the balance of getting the summer recruitment right is going to be the hardest task, probably, for Ipswich and McKenna and their director of football. I mean, their record transfer fee, just to throw this in, it goes back to August of 2001 when they brought in Matteo Sereni then from Sampdoria. So this is a club that is structured in a very, through necessity, it's had to be structured in a very certain way when it's come to bringing in players over the last decade.
Yeah, I think many clubs over the years have made that mistake of getting promoted to the Premier League and all of a sudden just completely changing the squad, buying players for cheaper overseas and not really getting that Premier League experience or players who you came up with. So I think Kieran will be looking at that. He probably will be looking at Luton this season and seeing how well we've been able to compete at times, and that will prove to him that you don't have to spend millions and millions of pounds to compete in the Premier League if you have the right philosophy. So I think whether they spend money or not, if they have the right philosophy under Kieran McKenna, they're back-to-back promotions. I think they'll be able to compete for sure.
I mean,
Brentford are the team. So, sorry, Rory. Go on. I was
going to say there'll be an element surely of players, maybe slightly younger ones at some of the bigger clubs who look at McKenna and think that's a coach I want to work with. And if you're going to go out on loan, if you're a kid at United or one of the several million kids at Chelsea, but
that's also, Rory. That's what there were young players who went to Luton because of Rob Edwards and his history with youth coaching.
Yeah, I think that must be an important factor. And the other thing is, it's important for the elite teams to know that the players are going on loan somewhere where they will learn the right lessons, where they'll gain kind of the sort of experience that is valuable and relevant if they're going to make it further up the food chain. So I can see Ipswich. Ipswich don't need to do a Forest. Nothing I know about Kieran McKenna tells me that he'll want to sort of overhaul 25 players. And to be fair, in a lot of those cases, Forest and Villa in particular, they've needed that churn just because they found themselves so short. And then they've panicked, basically. They've kind of got to the last 2 weeks of the window and thought, should we do another couple? Let's do another couple. We can use the bodies. I don't get the impression that'll be what Ipswich do at all.
And I think
I was going to say
go on, Chris.
I was going to say, if you're Ipswich, you can take heart from a club like Brentford. I remember when they came up, they finished 10 points, I think, behind Norwich. And you see that they haven't been reckless with their spending. They have shown that it's possible. The only one downer, I don't want to put a downer because Ipswich have done tremendously well.
Here we go.
But Kieran McKenna's done so well, his reputation now has gone through the roof. And there's always, I'm not putting it down now, I know they're having celebrations tonight, but there's always a good time, the right time to leave a club, isn't there?
West Ham? He's not going to leave.
Well, there you go.
He's not going to leave it.
If Lopetegui's in there for a week as the middle guy, and then McKenna can.
He's not going to leave
take over
Ipswich
some-
after
No,
back-to-back
you-
promotions, is
Right.
it?
No,
Clark?
I don't. But all I'm saying is his reputation, the job he's done, spent very little. He's a pure coach. He will be highly sought after. Now, highly unlikely he's going to leave Ipswich because there will be that loyalty factor. But we are all thinking the same thing, that it's going to be difficult for Ipswich to compete at Premier League level, just as we've seen the promoted sides from last season struggle. That's the way it is. I mean, they've got to have that belief and confidence to look at Brentford's and Fulham's and think, well, it is possible, but we know how difficult it is.
Andros, you were going to say one more thing.
Yes, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I was going to say basically touching on what you said, Mark, in terms of recruitment, and we were able to get Ted and Mengi, centre half, who wasn't playing at United, who was highly thought of. We were able to get him. We were able to get Sambi Lokonga on loan because we played attractive football and we were Premier League. And then we got a couple of experienced players who have been there and done it. So it's not all about, it's about finding the right fit for the way you want to play, as opposed to just buying 10 players from all over the world and trying to make them fit in the space of a couple of weeks. So I'm sure Kieran will be looking at, like Chris said, the Brentfords, the Fulhams and those clubs, and looking at the right ways to do things.
But character as well, Andros. And you can sort of tell the kind of characters that he wants. When he said this after they got promoted from League One, so before they'd even started their championship season, he said we needed to be more humble to get out of League One in terms of how we thought and how we embraced the challenge. And next season has to be the same. So it's an insight into the characters that he wants from his team.
Yeah, again, I don't want to. Again, I always dwell on my own experiences. But when I went on trial at Luton, and the first thing that CEO said to me was, "I want you to train here. I want to make sure you're not a
yes, idiot."
But yeah, a bad character. But maybe a slightly harsher word. So I think that's what clubs are looking at. Clubs that don't have massive amounts of money to spend are looking at. They're looking at first and foremost, can they get a good character in? Can they get someone in who, whether he's playing on the bench or in the squad, is going to be a positive influence on the team? And yeah, I think that's a sort of ethos moving forward now for these promoted clubs.